welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, June 17th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, welcome back to Logan Gilbert, pitchers who probably should be risers in the rankings this week. We shall discuss, and we will play Fantasy Feud.
Oh, snap. I had no idea.
I thought we would have to do something.
This is the best day of my life.
There's only, 7 games today?
Only 7 games on the slate, but surprisingly, lots
to talk about.
Yeah, lots to talk about here. So let's jump in.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oh, my. Yankees. Woof. Let's not talk about them. And let's start with Chris, because you claimed this was the breadstick of the night. Is it? I don't know.
I think Lucas Giolito striking out 10 is the breadstick for tonight. For those who don't know, this is a reference to the fact that Olive Garden, they'll give you one more breadstick than there are people at the table to try to psych you out of asking for another bag of breadstick or thing of breadsticks. And I say just take the breadstick and ask for more. Don't be worried about it. Don't let them play those mind games with you. And Lucas Giolito is the last remaining breadstick, and I will take him here because this is by far the best Lucas Giolito has looked all season. He had 10 strikeouts in 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs against the Mariners, only 91 pitches. He had 18 swinging strikes on 42 swings, including at least 4 on the fastball, slider, and changeup. The fastball velocity was up 1.2 miles per hour, 94.5 is what he averaged. That's the highest he's averaged since coming back from his internal brace procedure. And it's kind of funny that both Lucas Giolito and Spencer Strider pick the same week to finally look like themselves after coming back from their surgeries. I don't actually think there was any kind of deadline that turned them around. It's probably just noise. And in Giolito's case, I mean, in both his and Strider's case, I don't think this performance proves anything about what you should expect from him moving forward. And I want to point out some other pitchers who have had 10 strikeout games this season. Shane Baz has had 2, I believe. Max Meyer had a 14 strikeout start. Bryce Elder, literally last week. Lance McCullers, Eduardo Rodriguez has had 2. Taj Bradley, Tyler McGill, Luis Ortiz, Chris Paddock. Not only are none of those must-start pitchers, for the most part, they're not even worth rostering. Or at least they're not must-roster players. And I don't think Lucas Giolito, after this start, is a must-roster player. We have to keep in mind, it was in Seattle, a park that inflates strikeouts more than any in baseball. And he still got hit really hard. There was still a lot of loud contact when the Mariners did manage to make contact. So I don't think you should look at this and say, Lucas Giolito is a star pitcher again. But this is the first time he's really shown any upside since coming back from his surgery. And that matters. It's not proof that Lucas Giolito is going to be good again, but I wasn't sure he was capable of this kind of performance anymore. And now we know he is. So at the very least, I think he's 46% rostered in CBS fantasy leagues. If you've got a spot to play with, sure, he can be added. I'm not saying Lucas Giolito is a must-add pitcher here, but we've talked about it a lot over the past week or so. We're in a lull in terms of pitchers to add, and Giolito is coming off one of the more interesting starts for a guy who is this available.
If you're going to take the breadstick, if you're going to take the breadstick, take the breadstick. Don't lick it and put it back.
I did take the breadstick.
You licked it and put it back. You said, I don't want a part of this, but I don't want anyone else to have it either.
First of all, that seasoning, nothing wrong with licking the Olive Garden breadstick. That seasoning is delicious.
I can use some breadsticks right now.
Oh, my God. I would kill for a breadstick. I got pizza for dinner, but there was no garlic rolls.
I don't entirely disagree with your take. Obviously it doesn't prove anything for Giolito. I still think we should have a vast amount of skepticism for him. And yeah, so I don't disagree with that, but he has been trending a good direction here. I feel like the velocity has been ticking up. We've pointed out the last few starts, the velocity is basically looking like it did in his last good season, 2021. It's closer to 94 on average on the fastball than the 93 and 92 we had seen in later seasons. And with this start, he now has a 2.84 ERA in his last 5, with one dreadful start in there. It's worth pointing out. This is now 2 starts in a row where he's had at least a dozen whiffs after not having. I don't know that he had double digits even prior to that. So we're starting to see the whiffs come around. It's not just an isolated incident. It is the best start for Giolito, but those details I pointed out are a big reason why I had him. Did I have him among my sleeper pitchers for this week, or did he just miss the cut? I think he missed the cut, but he was not in the no thanks section of the 2-start pitcher rankings. So I was open to the idea of it at least. And I think I am more interested in Giolito right now than I have been at any other point this season.
Oh, unquestionably. Yeah. And like among other pitchers who pitched tonight, I would rather have him than Mick Abel, who got good results again, but continues to be, I think, pretty underwhelming since that first start. Like Jose Soriano is an interesting one because he's more rostered. If they were both available, I don't know who I would prefer. And you can give us your thoughts on Jose Soriano right now.
Boom!
Yeah, because he's my what do we call it? I don't even know what we call this anymore.
Player of the night.
Just player of the night. Okay.
Well, tonight it technically was. Oh my goodness, we had Susan on. So
yeah, and it's been over a year, so I should probably know by now. But anyway, Jose Soriano is my guy, and I actually did have him in the 2-start sleeper pitcher rankings, 2-start sleepers for this week for sure, because I cut a nice photo of him and made it he was the cover boy for the article. Anyway, he was great. And this was the start I was worried about because it was at the Yankees. And he was great nonetheless. 7 shutout innings, struck out 6, walked only 1, had 14 whiffs. This followed, of course, the best start of his career, where he had 7 2-hit innings and 12 strikeouts against the Athletics. So 2 great 7-inning starts in a row, 1 earned run in between them, 18 strikeouts between them for the best ground ball pitcher in baseball. I think that's pretty noteworthy. Now, it doesn't prove anything for him either. You look at his season stats, they're still pretty ugly, especially the whip. But I can't help but notice the one thing that changed the most for Jose Soriano in these 2 starts. The start against the Yankees, he threw 66% of his pitches for strikes. That previous start against the Athletics, 65% of his pitches for strikes. His season average is just 60%. And it's amazing how often just that one number, strike percentage for the night, for the day that the pitcher is throwing, how well it corresponds to how successful he is. And that's certainly been the case for Soriano the last 2. The stuff is there. He just needs to locate it well. And he has these last 2 starts. We see the result.
Yeah, and it's interesting, both him and Giolito talking about these 2 specific pitchers. They're both extremely volatile, right? It's just we can get blow-up performances if Soriano's not throwing strikes, if Giolito's getting hit hard. I was going to mention with Giolito, like through 9 starts, 1 earned run or fewer in 5, 3 earned runs in 1, and then 6+ earned runs in the other 3. So just that level of volatility it's kind of hard to get behind a pitcher like that. And we've seen some big blow-up starts from Soriano this season as well. But both are trending in the right direction. If I had to choose one of the 2, I would go with Soriano. Sounds like Chris would go with Giolito. And Scott, you break the ball.
Soriano is the higher floor. I think Giolito's the higher ceiling, so it might depend what you're looking for. A points league, Soriano seems like the better play. But if everything goes right for Giolito, he's probably the better strikeout source and the better pitcher overall.
The thing I struggle with Soriano is it was only, you mentioned the strike percentage and that was way up. In the CSW was only 29%, which is probably about average. And he only threw 47% of his pitches in the zone in this one, which For the season, I would guess it's it's 48%. That's always tricky because it's like you can walk players while throwing a lot of pitches in the strike zone, and you can avoid walks by throwing a lot of pitches outside of the strike zone. It is not a 1-to-1. Like, those are some pitchers intentionally throw out of the strike zone, but are able to avoid walks because they can dial in when they need to. Meanwhile, like, Shane Baz has a pretty mediocre walk rate games, despite throwing like 57% of his pitches in the strike zone. So I never know like how much of this is improved command versus noise over the course of a couple of starts for Soriano.
Sure.
But
it's impossible to know.
Yeah, I do agree that I think the floor, because of his ground ball rate, the floor is higher for him than Giolito. Like, I feel pretty confident that Jose Soriano is going to be useful, if not impactful. If Lucas Giolito had a 5 ERA the rest of the way, I would not be surprised at all. So, that's, I think, the key difference. But Giolito getting whiffs with both the slider and the changeup, that really has not been there this season as well. That's a big deal because the fastball, look, it's better at 94.5 than 93.3, but it's been okay this season. It has not been a problem. It's the changeup and the slider that have just been really bad for him. So seeing some signs of life from those two pitches in particular is a big deal for Giolito, even if it's not a guarantee that he'll be good.
If I put Noah Cameron and Brian Bayo in this mix, how would you rank those four? It seems like those were probably the pitchers we were most excited about yesterday. So Cameron, Bayo, Soriano, Giolito.
I think it'd be Bayo. Like, if all four were available in a league and I had to add them, I think I would go Bayo, Giolito, Cameron, Soriano.
Oh man, that was so close to being so close to being the exact opposite of what I was going to say. Cameron, Soriano, Giolito, Bayo.
All right. I'm going to cheat a little bit here for my players of the night, and it was a great day to be a Lowe or a Lowe. Either one, it didn't matter. Josh Lowe and Brandon Lowe both homered in the same game, and that deserves its own soundbite. Josh Lowe, 1 for 3 with a walk in his fourth home run, and since returning, he's batting .241, 4 homers, 4 steals, .724 OPS. Has started 14 of the past 15 games, and his strikeout rate is down quite a bit this season. Hitting the ball hard still. Expected stats look pretty good here for Josh Lowe. 73% rostered. Do you think he needs to be rostered in points leagues if he's going to play this much for Tampa Bay?
Well, I think we're leaving out an important factor that I'm trying to figure out. How many lefties have they faced in that time?
Yeah, so basically, how many games did you say, Frank?
14 of the past 15.
Yeah, they've faced 2 lefties.
I assume he's sat against one.
They've had, as somebody who writes the hitting planner and or 10 sleeper hitters, I guess is what we call it. As somebody who writes that and knows that there are a lot of lefty righty issues in the Rays lineup specifically, I can tell you the last few weeks I've recommended a lot of Rays because of all the
Josh Lowe was in there this week, right?
Yeah, he was the number 1 sleeper hitter last week. It didn't work out. He was the number 2 sleeper hitter for this week, and so far so good.
It is a very small sample this season, but if this will load, I'm pretty sure he has been great against lefties. He is 9 for 25 against lefties this season. Again, really small sample, but yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's more plate appearances than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am looking at all the times he started against lefties this year. So when he sat, it's been against a lefty. But he hasn't sat against every lefty.
Yeah,
I'm not even. I wouldn't even say he sat against half the lefties.
Yeah, Proserbius in the chat is saying he started 4 of the 7 games against lefties this season that he's been healthy for.
So hopefully he's winning Kevin Cash over. That'd be cool. And yeah, I would say there's top 36 upside, which is the sort of situation you're talking about. It's upside. I mean, I think there are probably 50 outfielders with top 36 upside.
Mhm.
So it's ultimately going to be tied to performance, which hasn't been so great lately for Josh Lowe. I think he's batting like 151 in June, even after this game.
Yeah, and the underlying stats are decent, but not. They don't scream head-to-head points league star. He's probably like a viable low-end option there, but the lack of power.
If you're a 20-30 guy, you're going to matter in all formats. If you're playing every day and you're a 20 homer, 30 steal guy, you're going to be. But that's the upside case for Lowe, not really it shouldn't really be the expectation.
Brandon, this is actually really disrespectful to Nathaniel Lowe, who was benched today. So I think actually it was not a good day to be a Lowe or a Lowe.
If you play for Tampa Bay, it was a good day. Brandon Lowe, by the way, 2 for 5 with his 14th home run, and he is posting a career-high 92-mile-per-hour average exit velocity. Expected stats look awesome. He had a rough April, but from May 1st on, 40 games for Brandon Lowe. He is hitting 291 with 10 home runs and an OPS around 900. Shout out to the Rays, by the way, who are 19-6 in their last 25 games. They are really hitting their stride. Part of that, Ryan Pepia. We'll talk about him in just a little bit as well. Also, shout out to Roman Anthony, who is on the board with his first career home run. What a way to kick off the post-Rafael Devers era. Then,
they don't need him.
Prospect to hit a home run here, his first career homer. So
they don't need him. 1-0 without him.
There you go. Courtesy of Roman Anthony and Lucas Giolito. Before we hit our first break, reminder to download and follow our 10-minute podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today Express, wherever you listen to this podcast. And big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today. Big welcome back to Logan Gilbert, who looked great in his return. He was facing the Red Sox, 5 innings, 2 runs with 10 strikeouts, had 21 whiffs on 84 pitches here. Fastball velocity was fine. Slider and curve down just over 1 mile per hour, but I think that's within the range of outcomes for those specific pitches. And in classic Mariners form, Logan Gilbert got no run support in this start. What did you guys think here of Logan Gilbert's return?
Great. I mean, everything, he looked the same. Before he went on the IL, the slider, splitter, curve all had a whiff rate better than 40%, which is spectacular. And he got plenty of whiffs with all 3, 21 whiffs on 84 pitches in all. It's actually refreshing because how many high-end pitchers have we seen come off the IL this year? Yeah. And it's taken them like 3 or 4 starts to look like themselves again. I feel like Gilbert hit the ground running.
Which is funny because there was that one rehab start, the first one, I think, where his velocity was way down. It was a little concerning. And then, yes, comes back and shows no signs of anything being amiss. Yeah, he looked great. I'm always a little wary that first start back, but I think we lucked out because it was a 2-start week, so it would be hard to get away from him, and it worked out. It was definitely worth the dice roll now.
All right, and then also we got Shohei Ohtani making his pitching return and also his Dodgers pitching debut. Only through 1 inning here, 2 hits, 1 run allowed, 0 walks, 0 strikeouts, had 3 whiffs on 28 pitches. Definitely amped up. His velocity was way up. Everything was up between 2.3 and 2.9 miles per hour. His fastball maxed out at 100 miles per hour in this one. Limited to 28 pitches, so I think it's pretty clearly going to be a long build-up here for Ohtani.
Yep, but a good first step, I would say.
Yeah, I don't expect him to average 99 miles per hour as a starter, but it's fun to imagine what it would be like if he was just a 1-inning reliever, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think it was you guys. I don't know. I feel like everyone has kind of made this case at some point, right? Where why can't Ohtani, and maybe he will be at, later on in his career, Just an awesome hitter and like the best closer in baseball.
Yeah, like I think he could be Mason Miller if he was a closer, basically.
No disagreement.
That'd be really good.
It would be awesome. But maybe this year he could still be a serviceable starter. It's just going to take a while for him to get built up. Let's get into the news and notes. Craig Counsell acknowledged that Kyle Tucker's sprained right ring finger still isn't 100%. He suffered the injury on June 1st and hasn't been hitting very well since. So they gave him Sunday off. They had Monday off here. The hope is give him a couple days off, and maybe that can help that finger heal up for Kyle Tucker. Bryce Harper fielded ground balls at first base Friday, but the Phillies aren't certain when he'll be ready to swing a bat or resume throwing. He is currently on the IL with right wrist inflammation. Yordan Alvarez has not resumed hitting yet. He's still shut down with a small fracture in his right hand. It sounds like he might not be back until after the All-Star break at this point, which is pretty bad. This one came out of nowhere. Lance McCullers Jr. went on the IL with a right foot sprain. Ryan Gusto started in his place on Monday, and he was pretty good. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. Shane McClanahan played catch from 100 feet last week and said that this is the best that he's felt. He's been dealing with this nerve-related triceps injury all season to this point. We still are without a timetable, but it's obviously good news here for him. Bryson Stott hyperextended his elbow while swinging the bat Monday. He'll undergo further testing and evaluation to determine the severity of the injury. He also quietly dealt with an elbow injury all of last year that he played through, and Rob Thompson said he didn't know if these things were related, so I guess we'll just wait to learn more about Bryson Stott. Cade Povich was placed in the IL with left hip inflammation. Zach Geloff will begin a rehab assignment with AAA on Tuesday. He originally had a fractured hamate bone in his right hand and then suffered a stress reaction in his ribs. 37% rostered for Zach Geloff. Any interest there?
I mean, not zero. It would be limited to roto leagues because as much as he strikes out, it's hard to see him factoring in points leagues. But he did have, even last year, which was a disappointment, he had 17 homers, 25 steals. You know, that kind of pace at a position as weak as second base has been this year. It might be of interest to some people. I don't know that everybody needs to pick him up, but if you're hurting there, you need steals especially. Not a bad idea.
I was going to ask where he's going to play, but I realize the A's confusingly are starting their Max Muncy at third base now, so it's actually not a problem.
All right, next up, Isaac Paredes returned to the lineup after missing 3 straight with a strained left hamstring. He went 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Colton Cowser returned to the lineup after missing 3 straight following a collision with the outfield wall on Thursday, and he went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, so not great there. Justin Verlander will be activated to start Wednesday against the Guardians. This season, a 4.33 ERA, a 1.40 WHIP, under a strikeout per inning, 43% rostered. Any interest in Verlander?
Only if it's a deep league where pitching is just like Giolito's gone and Soriano's gone.
All 4 of those guys we mentioned, I'd rather have than Verlander for sure.
Yeah, it just feels like a streamer at this point, so maybe in the right matchups, but not much more than that. Frankie Montas may rejoin the Mets in a bullpen role rather than being a starter right away. He is currently getting crushed in the minors. Michael Tolio returned to the Rockies with Keston Hiura designated for assignment. In 11 games at AAA, he hit .273 with 3 homers, .921 OPS, 91.8 average exit velocity, 17% rostered, a deep league name just to watch, Michael Tolio, because we saw him get hot in the second half of last year. There's a possibility it can happen again. In the Red Sox first game without Rafael Devers, Christian Campbell was the DH with David Hamilton starting at second base. And in deeper category leagues, Hamilton could potentially have value, so a name to watch there. Giancarlo Stanton was back as the DH for the Yankees. Ben Rice started at first base versus a right-handed pitcher with Paul Goldschmidt on the bench. This is now 2 games in a row. Goldschmidt has been on the bench against a right-handed pitcher. And I know everybody's going to sit a little bit here. The Yankees have their logjam going on. But I think it's bad news for Goldschmidt if he's going to start to sit out some games against right-handed pitching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's kind of frustrating, the whole Yankees lineup right now, because Aaron Boone's trying to make all the pieces work other than the only two guys playing every day at this point are Judge and Volpe, right? Am I forgetting somebody?
Jazz, I think so.
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, Jazz. Yeah.
No, that's going to be frustrating. I've thought Paul Goldschmidt was a fairly obvious sell high candidate for a while, even though the underlying numbers are very good. It just doesn't feel like a bet I want to keep making on a 37-year-old who's been in clear decline for years. So now might really be the time to try to get some offers out there with Paul Goldschmidt.
To go back to the previous news item, Christian Campbell was playing DH in the first game, sans Devers. I wonder if they're going to revisit Christian Campbell at first base now, because there was a report from Yahoo that Devers was upset with Christian Campbell for volunteering to play first base when Devers himself was unwilling to.
So he just wanted everybody to be miserable.
He wanted them to have no first baseman.
Basically, yeah. If I'm not gonna play first base, nobody's gonna play first base either. Yeah. So I wonder if that had something to do with them punting on the idea of transitioning Campbell to first base for the time being. Is just okay. We've got to assuage Devers here, and now obviously that's a moot point.
I do think it's worth pointing out Stanton had 3 batted balls in this game. All of them were at least 101 miles per hour. The hardest hit of them was 111.1, which already after one game puts him in the 73rd percentile in max exit velo for the season. Again, it's not like Giolito. It's not proof that Stanton is going to be good, but it does show that at least the skill set he's supposed to have does appear to still be there.
And another year, another baseball. According to an article written by Eno Saris on The Athletic, there's more drag on the baseball this season, which has led to a 4-foot reduction on long fly balls. So as we've gone over countless times over the past handful of years, baseballs
like 7 years now.
Baseballs are handmade. Obviously, there are variants. There's variants from ball to ball, batch to batch, but that should mean, in what I think, that there should be more drag on some balls. There should be less drag on others.
That explanation that MLB always trots out that, well, guys, they're artisanal, hand select, like that wouldn't explain why the whole population of baseballs is behaving differently. Like that explanation doesn't actually add up.
On all but 4 individual days this year, there has been more drag on the ball than last year's season's average. So again, there should be some days where there's more, some days where there's less, but there's just been a lot of days where there's more drag, and
I don't.
The ball is not deadened, but I mean it's not flying.
So from what I've seen, 2024 is kind of the outlier, and the ball is playing more like it did in 2022 and 2023. That last year there was a little bit of a boost in slugging percentage on batted balls. Now it's playing more so far this season like it did in 2022 and 2023 from what I've seen.
I'm kind of tired of revisiting it at this point. Like, yeah, there's going to be variance. It's just there always was variance. Probably we just know how to measure it now, and it's like I don't think there's some grand conspiracy. I think like. This is kind of the whole problem with the social media age, is like everybody sees conspiracies everywhere when it's just like, people are flawed and they don't do everything perfectly a lot of the time. That's almost always what it is. And I think that's the case here too. And it's just, we're going to drive ourselves crazy with this. It's like, we've talked it to death for, this is not actually year 7, but it's probably like year 4, right?
I thought 2017 was like the first big juiced ball year.
Okay.
Am I remembering that wrong?
No, I mean, that was the start of the juice ball era, but I don't remember us examining every ball with a fine-toothed comb back then. That's started, I think, in 2021. But the point is, like,
we got to play with what we've got.
Yeah, and it could change in a week. It's not like it's even confined within a year. So it feels kind of pointless.
Plus, if a player is going for some kind of league-specific home run record, they might get special balls.
All right, there you go.
No,
Get
but
conspiratorial.
the actual analysis here is, we talked about it, I think, on Friday's show or last Thursday's show, one of those shows, or maybe yesterday's show. I have no idea. There are many more players underperforming their expected stats than overperforming. You would expect that to be fairly constant. You would expect it to be a random distribution, basically, and that's not what we've seen. We've seen way more players underperforming. This is why. The expected WOBA on fly balls specifically is 43 points higher than it is than the actual WOBA on fly balls. So we're clearly seeing it. It's only on fly balls that you're seeing it. You see maybe a 10-point spread on line drives. It's almost entirely drag related. So it's the further the ball travels, the more the impact is felt. And it's just something that we have to account for, but it doesn't dramatically change. I think the biggest thing is just if you see someone underperforming, maybe they're not. Maybe they're performing to what they should. Now, if someone's underperforming by 100 points of WOBA, okay, then that's probably still, there's room to grow. But if it's like 15 to 20 points, your mental model should be that's just normal right now.
All right, let's move on to pitching.
Wait, hang on. Can I add one last news item?
Sure.
Kyle Schwarber is now outfield eligible in standard CBS Sports leagues.
Nice.
Nice. All right, that'll help.
5 appearances is the standard in season for CBS and on many other platforms, but perhaps not in your league. But he has made 5 appearances in the outfield now. So no longer DH only is Kyle Schwarber.
That will probably make him a top 15 outfielder, top 12.
I think I'm going to have him 12th in Roto, 9th in points.
Yeah, just eyeballing it, I would think at least 12th.
All right, I have 3 names here who I think are deserving of being rankings risers later this week when we all update that. And the first one is Ryan Pepiot, who is on fire lately, this time against the Orioles. 8 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts. He had 18 whiffs on 98 pitches. That fastball is back. He wasn't getting whiffs on that pitch earlier in the season. He has 8+ whiffs on the fastball in 3 straight starts. And over his last 5, he has a 1.62 ERA, a 0.75 whip, 37 strikeouts over 33 and a third innings. So I think Ryan Pepiot deserves to be a pretty big riser at this point.
Yeah, it's gone a lot better than I thought it would. And I mean, part of it is he's not as fly ball oriented as he was in the past. And so that's, well, you know what? Actually, the fly ball rate has trended up recently. So it's about what it was the past couple years. And yet it hasn't mattered even in pitching in one of the game's most homer friendly venues now. Ryan Pepiot has improved. He's taken a step forward and his numbers look great and probably a little too good. I would expect some regression is coming, but is he a pivotal part of any pitching staff he's on? Yes, I think that's fair to say at this point.
I really wrestled with Pepiot this offseason because I initially wanted him to be one of my breakout picks at pitcher, and then the move out of Tropicana and the impact that was supposed to have on the fastballs specifically scared me off. And the nice thing moving forward is the Rays have played like a huge outlier number of games at home so far, because the schedule was built to avoid playing as many games as possible in the summer in Tampa. So I don't know exactly what their home road split is, but I remember there being a big difference between the number of home and away games early in the season versus late. So if you are worried, they played 44 home games, 28 road games so far this season. So if you are worried about that, Ryan Pepiot is going to have at least a few more road starts than home starts moving forward.
And so far this season, 10 starts at home. Ryan Pepiot at 3.25 ERA, 1.15 whip. On the road, 2.83 ERA, 1.01 whip. So I don't know, maybe even some. Look, he can't get better than this, but maybe it will help him kind of maintain some really good starts here playing on the road a lot in the second half of the season there for Ryan Pepiot.
So how high do we want him? Because we all have him around 60th in our starting pitcher rankings.
I think he's definitely worthy of being a top 50 pitcher. I mean, that whole, once I get out of the top, 40, it's just kind of a jumbled mess right now. But
I'm looking around 45, and I have Andrew Abbott and Drew Rasmussen there. I feel like Pepio belongs.
I think he belongs in that group. Yeah.
So top 50. You could argue that I have some of the IL pitchers too high, and maybe that makes him closer to 40th if you want to move the Tyler Glasnows and Blake Snells of the world down. But yeah, I think that's about right. That spot in the rankings.
Let's talk about Sandy Alcantara, who was solid against the Phillies. 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts here, had 12 whiffs on 100 pitches. Still allowed a lot of hard contact in this one, but 3 starts in June. It's a 2.12 ERA, a .88 whip, 15 strikeouts to just 3 walks. That, to me, is the biggest key. The control has been much, much better for Sandy Alcantara. The latest I've seen is that the Dodgers and the Cubs are both paying very close attention to Sandy, and I think obviously that would be a pretty big boost for his value as well. So I'm not saying he's moving all the way back up, but the more that he starts to look like Sandy Alcantara, I think he's got to slowly creep back up the rankings.
Yep. 70% strike rate in this one. It's been 65% and up 3 straight starts. Prior to that, it was 62%. So as I said with Jose Soriano, it's amazing how often just that one number coincides with success. And it's happening with Sandy Alcantara in a way that's more familiar, in a way that we saw from him prior to Tommy John surgery.
And let's talk about Clark Schmidt, who turned in a strong start against the Angels, 7 2/3 shutout innings with 3 strikeouts. Did have 13 whiffs on 97 pitches. Nice to see 0 walks from Schmidt here as well. This is the deepest he's gone into a start this season. He's been pretty consistent, 3 earned runs or fewer in 10 of 11 starts, and he's allowed just 3 earned runs total over his last 4 outings. Scott, I know, you've talked about how it's a little bit harder for you to buy in on Clark Schmidt, but if you look at those last 4 starts, just 3 earned runs total, and he's been more efficient lately.
I like a 13% whiff rate, which is about where his is. I'm sorry, swinging strike rate, a little different from whiff rate. But that's a high swinging strike rate. And yeah, there was, we were talking about, he didn't work deep into games with much consistency. Well, this is 6 of 8 quality starts. 6 of his last 8 have been quality starts. So they've all been 6 innings or more, obviously. And yeah, I think at this point, Clark Schmidt is under rostered.
He's all the way up to 89%, by the way.
Okay. He got picked up a lot for the 2-start week then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not under roster now that he's up at 89%, but you might just want to hold on to him beyond the 2-start week.
Yep. Agreed there. Let's move on to waiver wire pitchers. We spoke about Giolito. We spoke about Soriano. Jake Irvin, a quality start against the Rockies, 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts. I don't think we have much interest in Jake Irvin.
We're not doing it again now.
Okay. Let's talk about Ben Kasparius, who pitched okay. The Dodgers just don't really let him pitch that much. He was up against the Padres in relief, 3 2/3 innings, 2 runs, 2 strikeouts. Last time out, they said they were going to use him as a starter. Next thing you know, Ohtani's back. So,
and the Sheehan's about to be back.
Yeah. So I don't really know exactly what the plan is. It can work in a 2-start week where, he'll probably wind up with 7 or 8 total innings on the week. But in a normal week, I mean, is he going to pitch enough to matter? I don't know.
I would guess no.
I think it's still a name to watch, but not a name to add everywhere.
Yeah, I think deeper roto leagues for sure. 12-team roto leagues, I might want to hold on just to see what happens here, but anything shallower than that, probably not right now on Ben Kasparius. Anything to see here with Ryan Gusto of the Astros? He pitched well at the Athletics, 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 12 whiffs on 76 pitches. And in his last 2 starts, it's 11 innings, 3 runs, 15 strikeouts to 2 walks. Anything to see here with Ryan Gusto?
So he threw a sinker 24% of the time in this one. It seemed to have replaced the cutter. And I was looking, definitely a different velocity band. So I just wondered if StatCast was misclassifying his cutter as a sinker now. Doesn't seem like it. Cutter was gone. The sinker was there. If that's true, if what StatCast is showing is accurate, that it seems like a good trade because his cutter had a 425 batting average against. So if you can find something else that works better, it makes me a little more open-minded to Ryan Gusto. I don't think I'm not rushing out to add him after this start, but he's in the streamable category, I would say.
The whole arsenal just looks like nothing really stands out yet for him. I guess the four-seamer is probably the closest. That does look like a pretty good pitch, 28% whiff rate. 330 xWOBA actually for a four-seamer is not bad. And so maybe there's a little bit of like what they did with Hunter Brown last year. The Astros starting rotation in June has been absurd. I don't know if you guys have realized this, but they have a 31% strikeout rate before tonight and a 2.63 ERA from their starters in the month of June. That's pretty wild.
Would you take Gusto over any of the deep league names we talked about yesterday? Brandon Walter, Jacob Lopez, Mike Burrows?
I would take him.
They're all pretty much the same. I might take Burrows over all of them.
I think I would take Gusto over all of them. I am particularly intrigued by Walter's upside.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like his role is that secure.
Is Mick Abel a hold? Chris, you barely, you briefly touched on him early on, and he was at Miami, 5 innings, 1 run, 3 strikeouts. He's been okay. He's just not really generating many whiffs right now. 3 strikeouts or fewer in 3 straight starts since returning from the minors. He's 78% rostered. He got picked up for the 2-start week. Is Mick Abel a must-hold player?
I don't think so. I've been pretty underwhelmed by him since that first start. And that first start was a pretty big outlier for even his minor league career. He was pitching better so far this season, but that was 9 strikeouts in 6 innings, no walks. That's not what Mick Abel was doing in the minors. What he's done so far looks more like it. He's not holding his velocity deep into starts super well. The command, it comes and goes. He's hanging a lot of breaking pitches. I haven't seen ton to be enthused about with Mick Abel.
It was weird that he was as successful as he was because it seemed like he did not have his curveball, which had a 44% whiff rate up to this point. Got just 1 whiff on it. It was moving, like breaking way too much, it seemed like. And I think he just was fortunate that he was facing the Marlins in this start.
Yeah. All right, last name I want to ask you guys about here. On the drop-o-meter, Zach Eflin, who got crushed at the Rays, 5 innings, 12 hits, 7 runs, 2 homers allowed in this one, 10 hard hits allowed. Velocity was actually up here, but it didn't matter. This is the second time Eflin has allowed 7+ earned runs in his last 6 outings, and he's up to a 4.81 ERA. He's got a FIP over 5. Still 93% rostered. Where is Zach Eflin on the drop-o-meter?
Man, I feel like my feelings on Zach Eflin vacillate wildly depending on how he's going in a particular moment. Because I don't know. I was high on him coming into last year. I was low on him coming into this year. And I was down on him for most of this year until his previous 2 starts, which were both excellent, or previous 3 starts, I should say, combined 4 earned runs between the 3 with plenty of strikeouts. And so things seem to be trending up for Eflin again. Okay, I'm back in. Let's rank him as one of the higher. Let's put him high in the 2-start pitcher rankings for this week. And then, of course, this happens. So I don't know. He probably shouldn't be dropped, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if he went on a bad run because his stuff is not that. It's just not that impressive. It can get hit hard.
Yeah, he's trying to go like the Seth Lugo route and just kind of throw everything around the same amount, just be unpredictable. It's pitch usage rate between 13 and 22% with all 6 of his pitches. Maybe there's some value in that. Maybe he'll continue to avoid barrels that way. I think the problem is just going to be limiting hard contact is really noisy as a skill. It's a skill, and I think Zach Eflin has it. Like, he has had below average expected WOBA on contact now 4 straight years. The problem is when you don't get any strikeouts and you live inside the strike zone as much as he does, I think you're just going to have these kind of starts. I think he's a poor man's Bailey Ober right now, and Bailey Ober has been pretty bad this season. I wouldn't drop either Eflin or Ober because I think it'll be more good than bad. But I don't think Zach Eflin is a difference maker at this point anyway.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, some quick waiver wire hitters. Fantasy Feud will do all of that right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Quick look at waiver wire hitters, and Nick Kurtz looks like he's heating up 1 for 4 with his 7th home run. That's back-to-back games with a homer in the 9th. Sunday, a go-ahead homer. Monday, a walk-off home run. And now has 5 home runs in his last 11 games if you include games before he got hurt. So overall, looks like he has been coming around. 72% rostered. Would you guys drop a Ben Rice or Jack Caglione, who hasn't really done anything yet, for Nick Kurtz?
Ben Rice is a tough one because they don't play the same position anymore.
Yeah, like if you're using Ben Rice at catcher, I get it. But if you're using him at first base, I think I would make that swap.
Yeah, if you have Ivan Herrera or Wilson Contreras or one of those guys who's broken out, or whatever, then yeah, if you're not going to use Ben Rice at catcher, then I think I'd rather have Kurtz. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's go with that. My opinion on Kurtz hasn't really changed since he got called up. So
Scott is over it, man.
I agree. No, I agree. Like the production's been a little up and down, but that's to be expected. He's young, but I think he should be 100% rostered. That's what I thought when he got called up
too. Like, you just got to be patient with him.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I mean, how much? It's tough because, like, if we say Nick Kurtz should be 100%, but he's at 72, like, he's still out there in a good amount of leagues. So
I know it's tough.
Yeah,
I know. I feel for you, people. I play in leagues too. I wish I had a more definitive answer. You can look at my rankings page right now. I have the 2 rookies ahead of Aranda and Bush, and I know why I have them ranked that way, because they're full-time players and Aranda and Bush aren't. But it still feels kind of wrong. And if you'd rather have Aranda or Bush, I understand.
Reese Hoskins has gone ice cold. I would make that.
Yeah, that one feels fairly similar. Yeah.
Some deep league outfielders. Max Kepler, signs of life. 1 for 4 with his 9th home run. He has 3 homers in his past 6 games. Jake Mangum, quietly hitting well. 3 for 4 with a double, 3 RBI. He's hitting .315 with 10 steals for the Rays. And Mickey Moniak, 2 for 4 with his 8th home run. He has multiple hits in 3 of his last 4 games. He has also started just 4 of the past 9 games for the Rockies. So deep league names here. Does anyone stand out? Kepler, Jake Mangum, and Mickey Moniak.
I think they should remain deep league names. Moniak would be more interesting if he played more regularly, because he is on a nice heater right now. And he plays for the Rockies, obviously great home ballpark, but he's not even playing consistently against righties. So yeah, it's hard to be interested in that. Max Kepler, I had high expectations for him coming into the year, and he's fallen well short of them, heating up now. But his overall numbers actually aren't that far from his expected numbers. 244 XBA, 438 X slug. That's not going to cut it in most leagues, even if Kepler lives up to it.
He is hitting a little hard though, Max Kepler.
On average, yeah.
I will just point out with Mangum, he's on a 40 steal pace in the games he's played. So like, I think 19% is probably too low for a guy who's hitting for a batting average and stealing a ton of bases. And like plays pretty close to every day when he's healthy. I don't think it's every day, but I think 19% rostered for Jake Mangum is probably too low.
All right. Yeah. I look in deeper leagues. I'm sure everyone can use more steals. So definitely.
I just want Chandler Simpson back. If you want steals, you should be rooting for Mangum to fail so that Simpson will come back.
That is one way to look at it. All right, let's play a little Fantasy Feud, and we'll do a best of 3 questions here. And let's prop up a little game show music here. All right. Is that loud enough? I think it is. Should be all right. Anyway, let's go. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, are we going to buzz in? Is that the idea? Okay.
Just say your names, I guess, is your buzzer. So the first question, there are 9 names on the board. 9 pitchers with 100-plus strikeouts this season.
Chris.
You're up.
That's not my guess. Mackenzie Gore.
Numero
Do I
uno.
get all 9?
You
Unless
choose
you passed.
now. You got the number 1 answer, so you get to choose pass or play.
So Scott now has to get 8 out of 11 to win.
No.
And if he doesn't, I would need just 1, right?
Yeah, you would steal
like
with
game
you'd get
theory.
one guess.
Pass for sure.
Okay.
Get out of here. You can take
Okay.
it.
All right, Scott, you're up.
9 is a lot.
Yep.
And you've made it 8 now. Okay, I'm gonna go with Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler is correct.
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's
go
a little
with
surprising.
Tarek Skubal.
Yeah.
The number 3 answer, that's correct.
I'm gonna go with Chris Sale.
That is the number 5 answer.
I'm gonna go, now I'm gonna run into trouble here. I'm gonna go with Hunter Brown. Actually,
He is on the list.
Oh, he
Keep
would've gotten
going.
there yet.
Oh, Chris is
I'm
getting a
gonna
little
go.
antsy here.
Hey, I haven't gotten an X yet, have I? I'm gonna go with Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
Eric Crochet is the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Scott might sweep the board right now.
How many do I have left?
You have 1, 2, 3.
Oh gosh, so close, and yet I'm running out of steam. Oh man,
I
Now
see you
I'm
looking at a side screen, Chris. No cheating.
I'm just looking at a list of team names. All right. I'll share my screen if you're going to impugn my dignity.
And don't read the chat either, because I'm sure they're throwing names out there.
Oh, now it gets hard. I gotta go with somebody.
I need an answer here, Scott. Or else
You need an answer.
get an auto X.
I'm gonna go with Yoshinobu.
First X.
Okay. Okay. I don't know why I went on a first name basis there.
100-plus strikeouts.
If you've got to do it, the guy who is the only person who's ever had that name in Major League Baseball is not a bad one.
Yeah, with the first
At
name.
least you didn't say Chris.
I'm gonna say Paul Skeens just because I'll feel bad if he's not on there.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's one of the ones I was thinking.
Yeah. I should have left it for you then, but I didn't know. I didn't know if he had 100 strikeouts. Okay, I'm down to 1 guess. I got to come up with 3 answers still. Oh, man. I'm going to say...
Need an answer.
This is kind of a weird one. I'm going to say Joe Ryan.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's not Joe Ryan. All right, Chris, the chance to steal. And he is stressing.
I'm going to go with a guy who I think has like 3 or 4 double-digit strikeout games, so he's got to be there. Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah! Take that, game theory.
Jesus Luzardo is not on the list, but now I want to look up to see where he ranks because
Yeah,
he might be pretty close on that list. Let's see. He currently has
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, we're
93.
We're missing the guy who was the number 1 starting pitcher in fantasy
Yeah.
like last week.
Carlos
we talked
Rodon.
about that. Carlos Rodon.
Yeah. Carlos Rodon, Dylan Cease, and
Okay,
Logan
Dylan
Webb.
Cease. I should have gone with Dylan Cease, and then Logan Webb. I wasn't thinking him.
Yeah. So out of all these names, Gore, Crochet, Skubal, Wheeler, Rodon, Sale, Hunter Brown, Cease, Webb. Do you believe in all of them, or do you look at any of them as like a sell high?
I mean, Rodon and Gore especially stand out as guys who have just been really up and down over the past 2 years. And so it doesn't seem like there's a huge margin for error with either of those guys. But I also think the growth that they've shown this year is real. Rodon expanding the arsenal over the past year, Gore getting that new slider that has helped him get lefties out. I don't really feel like any of these guys are fluky. I think Dylan Cease, I have some questions about how useful he actually is given the ERA. Like,
I still think he's a buy. I'm going down with the
Yeah, he's going to come around.
probably, but it hasn't happened yet. And I keep waiting for it. But the strikeouts have been very impressive overall. I think I pretty much buy all of these guys.
All right, we have 8 hitters with an OPS above 1,050 in the month of June.
Oh, man, in the month of June.
We're halfway there.
Chris.
Over halfway. All right, Chris.
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is not one of them.
Oh, man, that weekend series against the Red Sox really killed him.
Actually, I think he leads all hitters in strikeouts this month.
Yeah, I mean, well, he had like a 1,300 OPS like in June, like on Thursday of last week, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so now I got to make a guess here, and then it just keeps going back and forth until one of us gets one. I am going to say, gosh, I can't come up with a good answer. Okay, Ohtani.
That's Chris.
Willie Castro.
That's a good guess, but that's not.
Oh,
good.
come on. Like yesterday's podcast, we were talking about he has like a 1,300 OPS over the last 2 weeks. Come on.
Jonathan Aranda.
That is not correct. I stipulate these are qualified hitters, so maybe they don't qualify.
Rafael Devers.
Rafael Devers is not correct.
This does not bode well for us getting all 8.
I think we're just playing first to 1 here.
Okay, let's go with
Judge,
Pete
by the way,
Alonso.
Chris, Judge has a 1040 OPS.
Oh,
Pete Alonso is correct. Scott, would you like to pass or play?
I would like to. You know what? I'm gonna play.
You should probably play, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play.
Okay, Pete Alonso was the number 4 answer on the board.
Good. Okay. So let's come up with
So you
some
still
other
got number
answers,
1.
shall we? Let's come up with a really good answer here. Ronald Acuna.
Ronald Acuna
gotta
is not correct.
Oh my God. You know what? This is the I think you should leave prank sketch. You did way too much.
Yeah. Okay. So I got it. Okay.
I think
I love it. Still got the music in the background too.
some of these names, I think you'll kick yourselves for not.
Probably.
But I understand it's hard in the moment.
Man, who's been insanely hot? Okay, let's go with Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez is not correct.
Of course he isn't. Let's go with
He has a 951 OPS.
I
I need one more, Scott.
know. One more, 2 more. That was my first X, right?
No, you guessed Acuna.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna go with the one, the only James Wood.
It is not James Wood.
Mm.
All right, Chris, you have a chance to steal.
I'm gonna go with a guy who I know has been good lately, but I have no idea if he's been this good or this lately. Jeff McNeil.
No chance.
Jeff
Come
McNeil
on.
is not on the list.
Ah,
All right. Note to self: no more doing OPS by month. I will write that down for future reference.
Hey, I have 1, right? 2 or 3.
oh, Jeff McNeil's at 973. That was a good guess.
No, I
8
guess he did have a
hitters
chance.
with an OPS above 1050 in June. Ellie De La Cruz, guys, he's homered in 4 straight.
I thought about him, but I didn't.
Pete Alonso's teammate Juan Soto.
Okay, well, I said a
what?
Pete Alonso teammate.
Hunter Goodman, who has 2 multi-homer
yeah.
games in the
He's-
month so far. He's got 6 home runs.
I'm just wondering how high is too high at this point to rank him.
Hunter
Yeah.
Goodman.
Yeah, like he's got to be playing as much as any catcher right now.
Would you take him over Wilson Contreras, the Cardinals Contreras?
I don't think so. He's been really good for a while himself. I think he's been a top 5 catcher this season.
What about Goodman or Herrera? Herrera's slowed down a little bit.
I think I would still take Herrera, but Goodman's got to have a playing time. Yeah, Goodman's 4th at the position in plate appearances. Yeah, that's tough.
So after Ellie, Juan Soto, Goodman, Pete Alonso, Josh Smith of the Rangers, Marcus.
He was player of the week last week.
Marcus Semien, who's picked back up.
I know he's been hot, but
Jacob Wilson and JP Crawford, who had a huge weekend for the Mariners.
Gosh. Yeah, some of those there's about 3 of those that would have never crossed my mind.
Honestly, I did just want to highlight how good Marcus Semien has been and the fact that, he might be back. In June, he's hitting .354 with 3 homers, 2 steals, and a 1085 OPS so far. Again, that was Marcus Semien. All right, we'll play the last one for fun, even though Scott has already won.
All right, well, all right.
Or nothing. There are 7 hitters currently underperforming their expected WOBA by 60+ points.
I'm afraid now. 7 players underperforming their ex-WOBA by 60+ points.
Chris.
Yep.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
He's right under the.
Oh, come on. This is a dumb game.
Adley Rutschman.
Adley Rutschman is not one of them.
Qualifiers. Joe Adell.
Joe Adell. I put it up to. Hold on a second.
No. We're not changing. No, I didn't get it right. It's fine.
No. So I did a minimum balls in play 150 because Andrew Vaughn was at the top of the list. So I was trying to get him out.
And we don't need to talk about Andrew Vaughn.
Salvador Perez.
Salvador Perez, the number 4 answer. Scott, pass or play?
I'm gonna play.
All right.
So everybody can listen to me go, again.
7 hitters currently underperforming their expected WOBA by 60+ points this season.
Ooh, feed the cats. Okay, let's go with
Actually,
Juan
they're
Soto.
not in the room, so you might see the door behind me just fall.
What was that answer, Scott?
Juan Soto was the answer.
Juan Soto is the number 1 answer, who right now is hitting .247 with a .309 xBA, .455 slug with a .611 expected slug. His xWOBA is .445.
Just because he's been so bad, I'm going to say Matt McClain.
He is not one of these names.
Fair enough.
Your first X.
Okay. I know Matt Olson was for a while. I'm going to guess Matt Olson.
Matt Olson is 24th on the list.
Yeah, he's gotten better. Okay, so I'm running down to one more miss.
One more miss. You got the number 1 answer, Juan Soto. The number 4 answer, Salvador Perez.
I'm going to say Julio Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez is not correct. He is 65th. He's underperforming by 17 points. All right, Chris, double or nothing.
I don't have any confidence in this answer. O'Neal Cruz.
O'Neal Cruz for all the marbles. He's not one of the answers. So the top 7: Juan Soto, Brian Reynolds, who we've talked a lot about this season, Ben Rice, who we know is still hitting the ball extremely hard.
His StatCast page is still blood red. I don't blame Aaron Boone for sitting him as often as he has lately because the performance hasn't been there, but I still think Ben Rice is a super talented hitter.
Yeah, I agree.
Salvador Perez is 4th on the list, and then 3 middle infielders, Luis Garcia Jr., Otto Lopez, and Luis Rengifo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty random names there, but look, Soto we still think is going to get right. Brian Reynolds we would bet on. Obviously, Salvador Perez the same. And I think, look, if you play in a deeper league, maybe look at a Luis Garcia, Otto Lopez, Luis Rengifo. Maybe those guys can get going at some point.
A lot of people in the chat are saying Corey Seager. It's not true for him. He's not.
He might not qualify.
He doesn't meet the 150 balls in play.
I do want to add on Juan Soto. One thing we saw when he was in San Diego was because so many of his fly balls are hit to the power alleys, he might just be more prone to underperforming his expected stats than most hitters. And that might be especially true in an environment where the ball's not traveling quite as far. So Citi Field has very similar dimensions and park factors for lefties as Petco. So that's the one thing I would add there is I do expect Juan Soto to be much better moving forward than he has been. And I think for the most part over the past month or so he has. But, you know, if you're talking about like, I'm guessing the expected stats are like 320 batting average, 640 slug or something like that.
309 and 611.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I would say it's probably more like 285, 290, 550 slug. That's still an amazing player.
Mm-hmm. Do want to give a shout out to the chat. Corey Seager is, if you just look at qualified hitters, he's third on the list with a 293 XBA, 535 X slug. I think we talked about this on Friday's podcast. Please try and buy Corey Seager right now if you can. And then Mike Trout, 274 XBA, 578 X slug. So he's been a big underperformer as well. All right. Congrats to Scott, our winner here today with Fantasy Feud. And
I feel like I backed into that victory. I got to be honest.
On a day where there's 7 games, of course, we're going to go long here. So let's get into some other hitters who are having big Junes. Adley Rutschman picking things up in June, 356, 3 home runs, a 1023 OPS. Hunter Goodman, who we talked about, a double dong here on Monday. He is hitting 364, 6 homers, 1230 OPS in the month. Trey Turner continues his hot stretch, 328, 3 homers, 5 steals in the month. And Max Muncy, I'm cheating with this one. It's since May 2nd when he got the rec specs, the glasses. You can see the ball now. It's now 39 games. He's hitting 276, 8 home runs, 32 RBI, 4 steals, and an OPS over 900 during that stretch for Max Muncy. Anything that you guys would like to add on Rutschman, Goodman, Turner, and Max Muncy?
I'll just say I also have astigmatism. It's not bad enough that like I need to wear glasses all the time, but I have trouble seeing the ball at night when I'm playing softball. So that's a big deal. Me and Max Muncy, basically the same. That's all I'm saying.
Who doesn't have astigmatism? Let's be an astigmatism, right? That you put an article in front of that, right? And astigmatism. Okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have one? Let's be honest. You have
you could have just one stigmatism.
I haven't been to an eye doctor in over a decade, so I probably should change that. Adley Rutschman, I think, is just like people have been waiting all season, and hopefully this is the start of things actually happening.
Buddy, people have been waiting about a full calendar year.
That's true.
So, hopefully this is the start. His expected stats have still been very good. I expect him to be much better than this moving forward.
Some other hitting leftovers. James Wood keeps on doing his thing, 2 for 3 with his 18th home run. CJ Abrams
does not have an OPS over 1,000 in June, though.
No, he does not.
Famously.
I wanted to just point out James Wood is crushing lefties this season. I'd love to see that from a young left-handed bat. Like, obviously there are no questions about his playing time, but there shouldn't be because he's crushing lefties. So I love that. CJ Abrams, 2 steals here on Monday. Jose Altuve hit another home run. And I know Manny Machado's been hot. He added another home run here on Monday as well. Anything on Wood, Abrams, Altuve, and Machado?
Abrams stealing a couple bases is a good sign because he's batting. He got moved to third and has stayed there, right? He's been hitting third for them. And that's always a question when a player gets moved out of the leadoff spot. Are they going to run as much? So it's good to see him being aggressive here. And in a way that, the steals have not been quite as robust as I think we'd hoped for CJ Abrams, but any drop from that makes the profile, even though he is hitting the ball better this season, makes the profile a little iffier. So it's good to see him still being aggressive there.
We mentioned Dylan Cease. He is in the top 10 in strikeouts this season, but he had a rough one against the Dodgers. 5 innings, 6 runs, 9 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 101 pitches. He was cruising and then gave up 5 runs in the 5th. I was watching. It seemed like a lot of just kind of dink and dunk hits here and maybe just got BABIP'd in this one. It's also back-to-back starts against the Dodgers, which is just so tough. So, I still think Cease is a buy, but it might just be one of those seasons, like unlucky season all year, or maybe he's just Dylan Cease.
Well, he's getting hit really hard. That's the one thing, that the quality of contact has been really bad for Dylan Cease this season. And that's something that's fluctuated a lot over the course of his career. But his xERA is still 3.60 entering this start. So there's still, even if it's a mid-3s ERA and a ton of strikeouts and a probably pretty bad whip, I still think Cease will be better moving forward than he has been.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, is all the ERA estimators are 3.60 or better for Dylan Cease this season. So a mid-3s ERA, 115 to 120 whip, I think that's kind of what he's deserved, but doesn't always play out that way. Call to the bullpen for the Nationals. Kyle Finnegan got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up 3 runs on 3 hits and took his 5th blown save, 2nd loss. Kyle Finnegan kind of turning back into Kyle Finnegan. For the Rockies, Seth Halverson got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He walked 1, but picked up his 4th save. Zach Agnos was optioned back to the minors recently, so I guess Seth Halverson is the top name on a really bad team. Probably doesn't matter.
He might give you a save a month.
For the Phillies, Jordan Romano pitched in the 7th inning with a 2-run lead. He struck out 2. Matt Strahm got the 8th. He allowed a run on 2 hits. And then it was Orion Kerkering who got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He struck out 1 for his first save. Just wondering if this is a full-blown committee now for the Phillies.
Maybe. Or maybe they are transitioning to Orion here. He has long had closer in waiting hype attached to him. And he has a 0.53 ERA since May 1st. Now, the whip is kind of high. The strikeout rate's kind of low, certainly by closer standards. But it's not like Strahm or Romano are imperfect either, or are perfect either. So I don't know. I think Kerkering at least needs to be rostered on the same level as Romano at this point, and he might be overtaking him.
I do think Strahm's just the best pitcher here, though.
For the Angels, Hunter Strickland got the final out for his first save of the season. First out in the 11th inning for his first save of the season. Kenley Jansen pitched the 9th inning when the game was tied. For the Red Sox, Aroldis Chapman picked up his 13th save. And for the Dodgers, Tanner Scott pitched in the 8th inning. And Kirby Yates got the 9th and picked up his 2nd save of the season. To stream or not to stream on Tuesday, we have Will Warren against the Angels, Michael Soroka against the Rockies in Washington, David Festa at the Reds, Dean Kramer and Zach Littell are facing each other, Shane Smith against the Cardinals, Ben Brown home against the Brewers, Slade Ciccone at the Giants. What do you think?
Shane Smith, Mike Soroka, and who was the third one I said yesterday? Ben Brown?
I think Will Warren.
Will Warren, yeah. I don't hate Ben Brown, but he's behind those other 3.
I agree with those 3.
And then on Wednesday, we have Ryan Yarbrough up against the Angels. Andrew Heaney is at the Tigers. Mitchell Parker gets the Rockies. Eduardo Rodriguez at the Blue Jays. Paul Blackburn at the Braves. Severino gets the Astros.
Gross. Don't do this.
Yeah, don't love any of these. Look,
Eduardo Rodriguez, your boy, Frank, at Toronto. He might be the best one.
I said it about Jake Irvin yesterday. I'll say it again about Mitchell Parker. Starting pitchers have a quality start against the Rockies like 67% of the time this season. So it would not surprise me at all if Mitchell Parker was part of that 67%.
All right. We're not going to get to Team Name Tuesday today, but I will keep these in the notes for next week, and we will reveal them then. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.